Hello, everyone. Welcome to another open world LocFact. Today's LocFact is about one of the best-selling PlayStation 3 and 4 games, The Last of Us.
The Last of Us is considered among the greatest video games of all time. Set in post-apocalyptic United States, it tells the story of survivors, Joel and Ellie, as they journey westward together through what remains of the country in search of a cure for the plague that has nearly decimated the human race.
So we all know that The Last of Us has unique storytelling, captivating characters, and outstanding art design, but let's get into its localization.
The Last of Us was released simultaneously all over the world, achieving what is called a simultaneous shipment, or SIMSHIP. So it makes sense that the name of the game was not translated, remaining The Last of Us in every market.
Yep. The game was fully localized in different stages. It was localized up front from English into these languages on screen. Then they included this other set of languages. And eventually they decided to explore markets such as these other languages on screen.
Yes, and one of the factions of The Last of Us 2 is the WLF. This acronym for Washington Liberation Front makes an easy phonetic leap to wolf, in English, of course. But it was very difficult to maintain the same connection in other languages, though. In Spanish, for example, it was decided to call the group Lobos, or wolves, but translate the acronym as Frente de Liberación de Washington, since it appears on screen and the characters themselves discuss its meaning in the game. On the other hand, it was decided not to use the feminine of wolf, in Spanish, loba, for the female characters since it has a pejorative meaning.
Probably a good call.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the resistance group researching a vaccine for this infection, the fireflies. The organization's symbol, a stylized representation of a firefly, is often shown in the game, and the player can collect firefly pendants with the same logo.
The Italian translators, though, chose not to translate the expression literally as lucciole. The problem here was that lucciola refers not only to that beloved nocturnal beetle, it's also a euphemism for prostitute.
Yes, and since the leader of this group is a female character, Marlene, and is even referred to as Queen Firefly, the translator thought it best to translate the fireflies instead as le luci, or the lights, thus preserving the reference to light while avoiding a possible association with prostitution.
So we've come to the end of this LocFact. Thanks for joining. Is there any other game you would like us to include in this section? Do you know any other interesting facts about any video game in your language? Please hit us in the comments section. And thanks for joining. See you next time. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Open World. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Hugo Miranda. Hugo began working in the video game industry as a translator back in 2006. Can you believe that? Yeah. Hugo has been part of the Blizzard Entertainment family since 2011, and he's their language specialist for Latin American Spanish. Hi, Hugo. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. How about you guys? Thank you for inviting me here. Very excited to join you.
Yes, I mean, I know that it's been a while since we've been trying to make this happen. And like I said, we're very excited to get a chance to talk to you and for you to share your knowledge and wisdom in the localization field.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
I'm very excited, Hugo. Thank you very much for accepting our invite. So I'm going to kick off with the first question. Now, we know that your first language is Spanish, right? So I want you to let us know, what was your first experience with another language? And why did you study English to begin with? And I also know that you are quite proficient in Mandarin. So if you can give us a walkthrough to your first steps into the languages.
Sure. Oh, how much time do you have? So
We
anyway,
have about.
I first had this intuition to follow languages when I was pretty young. There was a show called Telematch on TV. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And it was a German show. It was a competition show where they had games and they were wearing these big bubble heads and big
Big
costumes.
bubbleheads. Yeah, it
Yes,
was not
yes,
super
yes.
much in Argentina, but yes, I know the show. Yes.
So, and that special thing about that show is that they had a countdown in German. And I just picked up on that. I was like, well, I just naturally picked up on repeating the numbers. I just loved making those funny sounds. But anyway, nobody really noticed anything. Like I had the ability to learn languages back in the day. Until later in high school, I just got interested in following the lyrics of songs in English. And of course, we had English classes, they were really easy. And I took French at the time too, which I was not too attuned to at the time. And later in English, well, my father migrated to the US back in the 80s. And later I followed. Well, maybe 10 years later, I followed. And that's when I continued high school here in Los Angeles. Actually, a high school, but it's very close to Hollywood. And something very interesting happened because at the time in my native Costa Rican high school, I was a very, very bad student, very poor. I mean, failing a grade, failing a few classes meant that you failed the grade and you have to repeat the whole thing. Well, that happened to me. But then when I got to the US, it was all brand new. It was all of a sudden I was an A student. And I would tell back to my other friends in Costa Rica, hey, guess what? I'm like an A student here. Yeah, right. Nobody believed me. And then I would tell my friends here, well, I used to be a pretty bad student. Nobody believed me. So that was my encounter with English. I picked up my first book from my teacher's desk, and it had some skeletons on the cover, and then I just opened it. I picked it up, I opened it, I flipped through the pages, and I saw Punta Arenas. And then at the time, I know, well, there's two Punta Arenas in the world that I know of. I think one is is it Chile or Argentina? It's all the way.
Yes, it's in Chile, if I'm not mistaken.
It's in Chile, right? And so I saw that, and I have to make sure that this is which Punta Arenas it is, and it was Costa Rica. So I picked up the book and I read it because it said Costa Rica. The title of the book was Jurassic Park at the time, and that that got me excited into reading, and I did a lot of reading in English, and so of course I excelled in that. I graduated high school, and then I did some college until I went back to Costa Rica to become an English teacher. And I did that for about 4 years until I was pretty tired. Costa Rica is a very small country, and there's very limited opportunities to what you're exposed to. And I always dreamed of being a sort of Indiana Jones. Remember that scene where he breaks into a foreign language when he's in India? And I was like, whoa, how can he do that? I want to do that. Explore.
You keep bringing all my favorite stories: Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones. Which one's next?
So I wanted to be that. I wanted to speak strange languages and be in foreign lands. And as I was teaching English, during my breaks, I would flip through the newspaper looking for opportunities. And one time I saw this scholarship offer by the Taiwanese government. And I thought that was for me. I applied for it. Out of 70, there were 12 selected. I had a number of reasons to, follow that pursuit. One might not be that obvious, but I am 1/8 Chinese. I don't look like it too much anymore.
You don't look like you look like more of a 1/16.
Oh, okay. You're close. And during high school, I read a lot of Confucianism and Confucius. I was really curious on the culture. So that took me to Taiwan, where I stayed for about 5 years. I did 3 years of language training and 2 years of geography in Mandarin. So
Wow.
that's after I finished that chapter, I came back to the US and started in the gaming industry.
Which leads us to the next question, because
That leads us to the
I
next.
definitely want to know how you got into the gaming industry. Why games? What do video games represent to you?
You know, career-wise, I started in 2006. But I think it goes way back when my father bought the first console for me, an Atari 5200.
Mm-hmm.
It was an upgrade from the 2600, so I was kind of popular in the neighborhood because we had that. Controller was a lot
Popular
different and
kid.
everything. So I would say
Everyone wanted to play with you, right? After school.
Yes, I
That
was one
in
of the
Costa
few.
Rica, right?
That was in Costa Rica, correct.
Okay.
And there was a problem, though. Not many people to exchange game cartridges with, you know.
Mm.
So I would say after that, I got the Nintendos and all the games that came with Nintendos. Well, I skipped the Segas, but the Nintendos and the Ataris have a very special place in my heart. And I would say that's when it all started. Understanding, you know, analyzing a game, how to break through different levels and whatnot. So going back to after I came to the US, I found this small company that was looking for a Spanish translator. And we don't have those that industry anymore, but they were called betting games. And the way they worked, there were games like Tetris or Zuma, if you remember Zuma, or Bejeweled.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had, you know, they have kind of hacked the games that were online, and you could play for money. If you were good, you could earn money. It was like an online casino for gamers, kind of like that.
Right.
So I did that, and the company did not last too long. And at the time, I remember my boss telling me, "Hey, you know, there's this job opportunity for this company out in Orange County." And I was like, "Oh, forget it. I don't even have a car. That's too far for me. So I think I'm gonna skip." The company was, you know, sold out, and I did a couple of odd jobs in the meantime. Like I worked for a bank, and I managed their Chinese side, their Spanish side, and you know, fate had me where I had to move to Orange County. So during the 2008 downturn, you know, the economic downturn in the US.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes.
I decided to go back to school and finish my degree. And linguistics was by far the easiest thing I could find because I had the languages there already.
Right.
And so it was actually the minimum number of classes I would take. And at the beginning, I didn't really know much what it was all about, but I fell in love with it right after I did my first class and was like, oh my God, where has this been all my life? Nobody's ever told me that linguistics, I mean, with such an unsexy name or sexy name, I don't know, that was the thing for me. So that was a breeze. I did that for about 2 years. And before graduation, I started looking for jobs. And a neighbor company was Blizzard Entertainment. And they were looking for a language QA.
Wow.
And then I remember recalling my old boss saying, oh my God, this was the company he had told me back in 2006.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. I could have been working there since 2006 anyway.
You belong there. I mean, it was meant for you.
And of course, yeah, the rest is history. I went through the ranks. I did QA for about a year, and he taught me a lot about maneuvering inside the games, which is not an easy thing. For example, for World of Warcraft, and then StarCraft, that was very different. And Diablo 3, that at the time I landed and it was not out. We were doing QA for D3.
Wow. And
It
you were
was
like the one of the first people to ever play it, right?
Yes, you're right.
Oh,
You're
incredible.
right.
Incredible.
You know what? I've told you this, Hugo, in some of our previous talks, but I love Diablo 3. I love it. And it is till this day that every time that I find any locked doors, I go like the witch doctor in Spanish, Está cerrado. It's like in my brain, that's the sound for a locked door. Está cerrado.
Yeah.
And for my wife too, because I say it out loud.
That's so nice to hear. That's so nice to hear. I don't hear those stories enough because we make a great effort, or I make a great effort to put in the diversity in dialects and accents into the game, because I know that they'll be ingrained in the players, in the gamers' memory for a lifetime. So it's so heartwarming to hear stories like that. Thank you, Alexis.
Well, it would be great if someone watching this show and is a big fan of any of Blizzard's franchises. Please leave a comment below if you've experienced this game and these games in Spanish for Latin America in particular. This is the person you want to thank for that. So please leave your love for Hugo in the comment section.
Yeah, no, thank you, Hugo, for making such a great job, because it leaves a mark. It leaves a mark. But I don't want to stay too much in this because I'm gonna cry. But I'd like to know, how do you manage nowadays? Because we're all busy, but I can imagine that what you do, your position, must book your time pretty heavily. So how do you manage your time and balance work with your everyday life? Do you still have time to play video games? Do you play video games still? And I'm gonna leave another small question for that because it's a long one.
Okay. So yes, the short answer is yes. I still find time to play games. They are very significant for me. It's a way to relax. Some people, they read the news. Some people watch movies. Some people play with their pets. Or some people play video games. And it's a way to find refuge from the day-to-day life, to recharge your batteries. So it is very important for me. And of course, it benefits my job. And it pays off when you show that knowledge. And it benefits others too in your job. Going back to what I do for Blizzard. So I left you at QA that I did for about a year.
Yeah.
I later moved on to a content editor, which was basically synchronizing with the translators that we have as outsourced partners, right? And then because of needs in the department, I moved to project management. That was more of a language agnostic position, but still keeping, final decisions language-wise. And now the latest of the evolution is language specialist. In my view, I've always been doing the same thing, but I just provide people with different services, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And in terms of how do I manage my time, so there are some things that I have to do for work in video games. I am doing one right now, but I cannot share any details. And
You're so
I am collecting information. I am researching this product for the benefit of the translators that are going to get this product later on to localize. So some of that can be done, as part of my job. And others, I do here and there. I would say I play more mobile lately.
Interesting.
because it takes a little more time to turn on the console, sit in front of the TV, find the time and the space.
Yes, I can relate to that. I have a 2-year-old on a small apartment that we live. So mobile gaming is very, very, very comfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you should turn to mobile as Hugo.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting stage, and it has its advantages. I remember when we had newborns, it was kind of fun because you had to stay up through the night sometimes, or wake up at odd times, or sometimes you don't fall asleep again. So guess what?
I'm gonna play. Yep, I'm gonna play.
So you just find your time and you adjust it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how it works.
And you mentioned some of the things or some of the people you interact with as a language specialist, but I wanted to know, how does a day in the life of a language specialist look like? What are the challenges that you're facing or that you face throughout the years? Because probably they have changed.
Yes, there has been an evolution for sure. And back when I started, I was not so mature in the position, and the team was not either. And so I remember it's actually a very endearing memory for me when we would have the I call them the tomato discussions. Because for Latin American Spanish, it's something that is very dear to us in every country. We all have our own nuances because we grew up in a linguistic bubble. We had marketing, we had TV, we had friends, we had school, we had university. And someone that comes around from a place that is not from where I am and tells me that I'm not speaking the correct Spanish, it's definitely an insult. Because, hey, my grandmother spoke like that, my grandfather, my parents, my classmates, they all spoke like that. Who are you to tell me I'm wrong? I think I'm right. So there was
part of your identity. It's what makes you, right?
Right. So when you bring on different Spanish speakers from different countries, and they're just finding out about what others sound like, what others' experiences is like, it's a little bit challenging, and it was at the time, to explore our differences. Luckily, I am a descriptivist linguist. A descriptivist? What is the other opposite of descriptivist? No, prescriptive. So a prescriptive linguist is the one that kind of follows the rules, kind of like the grammar, the language police. And a descriptive linguist is the one that's just like a scientist, observes the behavior of a certain language, understand why they speak like that, where they come from, and then kind of tries to marry the differences. And that is kind of what I did at the very beginning in our department. Kind of
more
like
artistic sort of speak, right? At the same time.
Right.
You mentioned scientific, but I imagined it like someone that works their art with languages.
Mm-hmm. Well, linguistics, it's a science, a social science, so that's why I slipped that in there. So it happened when, like, say, we would decide a name for a unit or an important name for an expansion, and then people would have all these feelings about a certain word. So then I had to explore, where they were coming from, what that sounded natural to them, and then do the same thing for the other part, and then try to explain, this sounds natural to him or her because of this and that. And the best thing to do for the game would be based on the trends that we see in all of Latin America. Kind of like that. So those are kind of like, I'm kind of deviating from the question, am I?
No, but it's fascinating. I mean, you can keep going for hours. It's all right. Like I would listen for what you have to say for hours. I mean, it's super interesting how it can be as simple as, there's not one single variant, and that's it. So you may choose, for example, Latin American neutral Spanish or Mexican Spanish and put it under an umbrella. Or if you dig and you go deeper and you realize that there's more than just a variant, it's just the culture behind those variants and the people behind them that speak that specific variant, right?
Right. So the different tasks I get for work, when they are linguistically related, I would just geek out so much on them, and we could talk on forever about those. I remember one, I'll give you an example, where we had a bug in an audio in a game. And I don't want to say that word right now. It's a Spanish word. And there's these little creatures in the game World of Warcraft. They're kind of short, but they're not the goblins. What are they?
We might need Lara's help here.
Yeah, so we, in English, they're called gnomes. Okay, they're called gnomes.
Spelled gnomos in Spanish.
Oh, there you go. You said it. I did not say it. Just the way you pronounced it in a game. And then we got it in at Blizzard at HQ, and we all looked at each other and we're like, what are they saying? You know, because nobody knew it by gnomos. We all said it as nomos. So that took me back into a historical linguist class, per se, to understand why some people would say gnomo and other people would say nomo. And maybe we could talk about this offline.
Yeah, for the people that are tuning in, gnomo, as I pronounce it in my Argentinian Spanish, is written as G-N-O-M-O, right?
M-O. G-N-O-M-O.
So I pronounce it gnomo, and Hugo, you pronounce it nomo, correct?
Nomo, yes.
Right.
And we speak the same language. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it. Hugo, by now, I mean, we know, but our audience must see that you have a beautiful way of seeing life and to see language and to talk about it as well, right? And I know that you see life as a video game, right? Where you can be either Indiana Jones or someone with special abilities. And you're an advocate for bilingualism for future generations. What are your thoughts on what's the potential of future generations for people in the industry and in language, in gaming? Take it wherever you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that my endeavor of talking to elementary school age kids about what I do at work came about because I was once invited at my son's elementary school to read to the kids. And I was like, no, I'll go there and read a book in English to them. That's not me. Why don't we go, like, I used to watch in the movies where parents would go and talk about their professions. Mm-hmm. And why don't I prepare a presentation and talk to the kids about what I do at work, and at the same time I bring the exposure of the idea that speaking languages, it's okay, it's natural, because that's something that here in the US is not so common as you would see it in other areas of the world where multilingualism is more common. Here there is bilingualism and multilingualism, but it's kind of like in the shadows still. You keep it at home in a corner or your friends. And if you're in public, you whisper it. Or if you go order McDonald's and I turn around to my son in Spanish to ask him what he wants, you get all this, it's kind of like in a movie, all the bright eyes in the darkness and eyes staring at you. So I saw that as an opportunity to also show my son that it was okay to talk about
Right.
that. And of course, I put in comparisons. I pulled one of those sweet Hearthstone cinematics that you could see on YouTube. I couldn't pull an Overwatch one, although I really wanted to, but it might have been a little bit too violent for 8-year-olds.
Yeah, probably.
But I'm sure they see it at home. So I saw that opportunity to talk to them on those topics. And then it just evolved from there, that the teacher had a son in a bilingual program at a different school. And he said, well, would you do the same thing at this other school for my son's class? And then he moved from there to a local library. Hey, why don't you do that for the community? And then somebody else call me, someone that had met ages before, that worked at a elementary school. And then I did it again. So I'm like, I'm like happy to offer that. And I sell it as a way to discover your abilities, like in a video game. Like a language, it's another ability that is hidden that you could use for a job, to work at Blizzard or anywhere you want.
Yes.
Right. And also to give them the idea that playing video games is a way of getting to know yourself, getting to know what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you like, what you don't like. And those are skills that you should know by the time you get out of high school. You should not go into university, listening to others tell you what you should study. You should know by then. So games is a way to let you find out what you like and what you don't. So I think it's all connected. I think it's all beneficial. But of course, some people abuse screen time, right?
Yeah. No, but what a wonderful story, Hugo. What a wonderful story. To think that you thought it just for your kids' class, right? And it evolved. No, it's amazing. I'm kind of speechless right now, but just because I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, but it's so nice that you get the chance to give back to the community, right? Through language, which is your passion. So it's a beautiful story. And talking about passions, and I know you pretty much have the dream job because Blizzard Entertainment, it's an amazing company, has incredible games. And we wanted to know if you have any recommendations to translators or linguists that are trying to get out there in the industry and are dreaming of maybe someday working at Blizzard or a company similar to Blizzard, though I'm not sure if there's any. And I mean, what would you recommend to them?
That's a really good question. It depends. It varies depending on where you are and what you like to do, right? I think it's your passion that kind of drives you to a destination, right? And then how do you break into it? Like breaking into the industry at first. There's so much competition, but then there's also so much opportunities. We live in a day and age where video games is taking on over Hollywood in terms of entertainment. Yes. So it's huge. It's huge. And guess what? Languages as an industry is also exploding. Is there a lot of content right now, do you think? Well, there's going to be a lot more and a lot more content to translate.
Yes, this is not stopping.
No.
Right. So if you are a translator, say, and you're interested in video games, well, if you were to solve it like in a video game, you would try to find the easiest way in, right? If it's a big wall that you have in front of you, try to find the easiest way in. Like find the door, the broken door that no one is looking for, right? Find the easy way in. For me, the easiest way in was using my languages, using my interest in video games, and that I lived nearby. So if you kind of summarize, you put on a list, make on a list of what would be easy for you. What skills do you have? Some people might have marketing in there, and guess what? We also need marketing people. Lawyers, we also have lawyers, right?
Right.
They are necessary in our society. So it just depends. And say if it's a specific company that you're looking into, it might look like a fortress at first. So find the easiest way into the industry first. Work on a smaller project first. That will build up on your experience. When you go on to the next opportunity, you can say, well, I did this and this and this at this other company, and I thought there were better ways of doing it. What are you guys doing? And that gives you power, right? Just like when you analyze one video game, and I could just drop one here, like Mario, right? And we can compare it when you compare it to Donkey Kong and you play Mario, we can have a conversation. We can compare it, how it's different, who made the game, what years they were published, what consoles, and that is all knowledge that you would gain from having that experience, right? So I would say anywhere that you can find, put your foot in the industry would already give you more power to go into the next level. And the next level, and the next level, kind of like World of Warcraft.
Love that you're bringing the fact that you don't need to have like a specific skill or area of expertise, because as you said, we need lawyers, marketing managers, localization specialists, and account managers, producers, game developers. You don't even need to be just a developer to be in the gaming industry.
We have
right?
librarians, we have historians, we have business intelligence people that analyze huge
geologists. We had one of our guests, one of our special guests was Kate Edwards as well, and she has so much background in geography and history, and still she's collaborating and adding so much value with her background. So everyone has something that can add value to the story, right?
Definitely so. Definitely so. One example that I always like to bring up is when we worked on Overwatch. And, one thing that I always wanted to do was to use my Chinese expertise in the games or at work. And the opportunity never really came about. I would see it on everyday tasks where I would try to understand the English, to understand the source, and I would look at different languages. And because of Chinese and the way they look at things, the way they describe things in their language, I would understand right away what they're talking about. Okay, this is what it is in Spanish, or this is what it should be for other languages. But never really as impactful as when Overwatch, the project, came about. And when we were deciding who was going to be the talent for it. And we definitely wanted someone who spoke the language. And we were just very, very lucky to find the talent that we found for May, who has studied Chinese in Mexico. And
wow.
she was not a voice actress as a profession. She is more of a drama professional and a writer.
Interesting. And how long did it take you to find her?
Well, we had to do it very efficiently, maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, that's very efficient for such a special profile, right?
We had to move very fast because we didn't have time. So we found her, and since she had never recorded in Mandarin Chinese before, she looked at the script and she said, "Well, yeah, I can do it, but there's some words here that I don't understand." And when I heard that, I was like, "Wait! I can help. It
was your opportunity to shine, right?"
So what happened was that I joined the recording sessions remotely, and then I helped her with the pronunciation of certain words, the pronunciation of sentences, and also just, of course, because she is very good at it, just to give her that emotional support.
Well, I think it's about time to go through a meme round. What do you think, guys? Should we do it?
I'm down for some memes.
All right. Well, this is the first meme, and here I think we're gonna need a little help from you.
Here it is. Yes, this is a This is not by far a popular meme that you see out there that people share about, because this was an internal discussion. It happened about by the time Heroes of the Storm was coming out, because this is the character in Heroes of the Storm.
Yes.
And at the time, we had this discussion of what we would name our demon hunter. And in English, we had the name Vala, right? And then there was an issue with that, because if we published it as the way it is in English, people would read Vaya, and that means like friends or something, and says something like very uncool. I mean, people are gonna be saying Vaya, 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 and it's gonna sound like go, 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 or
Go,
like
go, go.
a fan.
Yeah, so this is all the force, right?
So what do we do? What do we do? And there was this heated discussion about what do we name them, and then we reached out to the dev team, and they said, well, there's also this other demon hunter in the lore, and this is public actually, and her name is Tila. Tila is another demon hunter that is mentioned in the lore. Well, would you guys be okay with that? So then that was brought on the table, and then we started discussing. And it went on for hours. It was so long, it was so heated, people were fighting over this, that our current director in localization made this meme. And he just mirrored the image and put Tila and put Vala, and then go fight. Who's gonna win?
They PvP.
Now it makes sense. We needed that story.
He's like literally bringing out the popcorn. And yeah, you guys keep discussing. I want to see how this ends.
I got the Vala, but I wasn't aware of the Tila one.
Yes.
Okay, so
just to tie the knot at the end, and there was another issue with Bala, because in Argentinian Spanish you will pronounce it Bala, not Vala, and Bala sounds like bullet in Spanish, but in Argentinian Spanish, Bala is something of a bad word that we did not want in the game. Right. And so, we didn't want that. We didn't want Bala. Right.
Yeah, we can also, pronounce it as Vasha as well. And it can be mean a barrier or something, and you don't want that either. So.
Right. Yeah. In the end, we took out one of the L's, and it stayed as Bala. And there were no issues with the other meaning of the word. It was my guess that it would, taken out of context. It's in the context of the game. You're not going to think about it in any other context. Why would you? Why would you, right? And we haven't heard anything so far. So please don't go bug it now. I think we're fine.
No.
Thanks for sharing this inside meme, and I love the story. Thank you. This is for all Spanish speakers out there.
It depends on who you call, right?
So we got A, B, C, and D. And the first time I saw this meme, I was like, I'm a Spanish speaker. I should be able to answer. This just, some monolingual person sent me these. And okay, so what is it? What is the answer? I want to know. I probably have the answer. And then I looked at them. I was like, I don't know.
I don't know. All of the above.
I don't know what ahorita means. I don't know, because it depends on how you use it in your context, in your country, in your atmosphere, in your family.
Oh, and I love this one. Yeah.
Yes.
And we can probably find even more if we Google, because there's so many different ways to say popcorn in Spanish. You have no idea.
Yes. This is one of my favorite ones. I use it at work often, and particularly when I do presentations to my teammates. I do presentations on the Chinese language to explain the difference between traditional and simplified, and why if it's, if one is simplified, why is not the other one complex? I don't understand that dichotomy. So I use this one to explain why Latin American Spanish is so difficult. Why? Because when when developers or production sends out a query and they ask, okay, we want to know what this would be, what the translation would be for your language, because the developers want to implement this in the game. Okay. And then you see all the languages answering, and there's like German, boom, Spanish, boom. I mean, European Spanish, boom, French, boom, Russian, boom, Chinese, done. Brazilian Portuguese, done. And they're like, where's Latin American Spanish? And
all over the place.
I'm still discussing with the people. I'm doing my best. I'm still discussing to marry all the opinions and getting the best answer to you. And that is because you have to go through all the countries that you have, you can reach out to. Well, this meme is kind of old, at least the picture, right? But at the time, I don't know, I must have made it like 6-7 years ago when we started discussing this topic. And it is, for Spanish speakers, it's a very sensitive topic because it talks about the core of who you are and how you speak. And so when you hear the first comments of neutral Spanish, and nobody likes it because they all defend who they are. And yes, I see that. I respect who they are. And I mean, I am the number one person that when I visited Buenos Aires, I started speaking like the locals, like right away, because I wanted to pick it up. And, and then you come back and then you start finding a love for the way things are pronounced a little bit differently. And then they just sound like music, so beautiful. So I am the first one to appreciate the diversity in accents. The issue of neutrality comes when you have to publish one product to a huge market, right?
Right.
So what do you choose?
That's what I was saying, right? Like, teach your kid the ways of video games, then they'll never have money to buy drugs or something like that. There is a saying.
Yeah, it's a healthy hobby, and
I think so.
Video games are.
I agree. And World of Warcraft is it's not an easy game. I mean, I've played it, and I don't do like 10% of what you can do inside World of Warcraft. I mean,
really?
Like questing, and sometimes I fish, like the most boring things. I don't do raiding or pet battles or game. Oh my god,
great.
I felt like John Wick every once in a while in this picture, especially because of all the bruises and all the low health.
Yes, it happened to me in World of Warcraft because you have to go pick up your body, right?
Yep.
And sometimes he's right there. And there's not enough time for you to leave.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of funny.
Had so much fun. Thank you, Hugo, for sharing your memes. We like to think of it as a way of getting to more personal with our guests, because we like to know what makes them laugh. And thank you for sharing what makes you laugh. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today, Hugo, and to learn more about your incredible journey in Blizzard and in the localization industry. Thank you, Alexis, also. It was lovely having you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in another Open World. Take care.
Bye, guys.